So, I'm yours. Yay! And you're not letting me go.
Yeah, you signed a contract.
A contract that had a 3-month out. However, the president of our board and I have already had the chat, and I have no intention of going anywhere. So I start today with the question, why are you here? Which then begs the question, why am I here? Why are we here? Me go first. And when I say, why are you here, why are we here, why am I here, I'm not talking about the big question, why do we exist here in the universe, right? No, I'm looking at something more practical. Why are you here? Why are you here? Think about that. Why are you here? Now, I don't want to drive you away by making you think about why do you show up. Because a lot of reasons that people come to this philosophy, come to religious science, science of mind, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people come here escaping other religious philosophies, escaping old paradigms, old ideals that are no longer working for them in their lives. But really ask yourself, why are you here? Why are you here? You know, I don't want you to decide that you don't need to be here, because your support helps this center grow, right? And I hear all the different views about why people have come to this place, and have come to this philosophy, and why they've decided they belong here. Most of the time, what I hear is, well, I was raised Catholic, ... Something about Catholicism and this philosophy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, I mean, I did not come from Catholicism. I was not raised with a religious ideology. I didn't go to church growing up at all. And so the thought of me being a minister 10 years ago, totally not in like my line of sight. Like, I had no idea. I had no idea. And yet somewhere I knew. Somehow I knew. Somehow I knew. You know, there's also the answer, well, I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not religious. So that's why I like to come here, because I like to feel uplifted and spiritual and not religious, right? So then I have to ask the question, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? We come here on a Sunday, right? We talk about the nature of God. Well, that's religion. That's religion. A narrow view of religion, granted, but we have built ourselves into a community that does what other religions are doing. We're just doing it in our own way. Now, I have this whole thing set up about dogma. You know, a lot of people want to get away from dogma. Dogmatic thinking, dogmatic ideals, dogmatic things that they've been raised with. This is where it goes back to the Catholic thing. There's a lot of dogma in Catholicism, right? One of the things that really struck me a year and a half ago, I think I've had too much coffee. All of a sudden I'm like, but one of the things that struck me at the leadership conference a couple of years ago in San Diego was when we were passing this thing called the ODM, which is the organizational design model. It was this 40-page paper about how we run the larger organization, the international organization. And one of the statements in this ODM was, we are free of dogma. No, we're not. We're absolutely not free of dogma. This is not true. We have dogma. At the end of every treatment we say, and so it is. That's dogma. Right? You can find it everywhere. You can find it everywhere. It also said that we tend to stay away from jargon. Also not true. We have our jargon. You know, when you first came to this philosophy, you heard terms being bandied about like practitioner, spiritual mind treatment, mental equivalent, things like that. And you probably sat there thinking, what are they talking about? What is all of, I don't understand this. It's jargon. It's how we have come to create in language a way of discussing the principles of this philosophy. And we've gotten very steeped in it. So when I say mental equivalent, I know that anybody who's a student of mine probably understands what I mean when I say mental equivalent. But if you're not a student of mine or you haven't studied this philosophy, do you know what the heck I'm talking about? You can answer that if you want. Do you know what the heck I'm talking about when I say mental equivalent? No. I see people shaking their heads no. Absolutely not. So we absolutely have jargon within this philosophy. We have dogma within this philosophy. And you know what? If you want to find out what the mental equivalent is, you can talk to me after service or you can come to class. The other thing that we have is we have spiritual practice. We have spiritual practice. Now the thing that I love about this philosophy is it is open to whatever your spiritual practice is. Whatever brings you more in alignment with the two principles that we teach, which is the divinity of man. See, I get to it every week, don't I? Yeah. The divinity of man. That each and every one of us is an individualized expression of God. There is no separate God. So when I look at you, I will say, you are God. You are God. Cool. You are God. Now for those of you who are new here, that may be uncomfortable to hear, but that's what we teach. So the other thing that our spiritual practice brings us into alignment with is the law of cause and effect. This is what is creating in our lives. We are creative, individualized expressions of God. So we are constantly creating. That's what we do. Our lives are fully created by us. My life is fully created by me. Your life is fully created by you. But, see, then it gets back to what I talked about earlier. If you truly believe this, and you truly, truly buy into this concept, this principle, then you must take personal responsibility for what is happening in your life. You cannot be victim to anything outside of yourself because now you're the one who created it. Regardless of the circumstance or the appearance of it, because I get this a lot, well, if I was in such and such place and I saw this happen and, you know, I didn't create that, right? I saw the accident. I saw the accident between the two cars, the collision. Maybe you didn't create it, but you were present for it, so your participation energetically put you in that place at that time. You created it in your experience. Have I totally gone over your head now? To be present, to be in that place at that time, means you created it for yourself. So you may not have created the physical thing out there, but you were caused to your own presence within that situation. So there are some things that we do encourage here as part of our spiritual practice. One of them is meditation. I'm a firm believer in meditation. The only purpose for me with meditation ever is to bring myself into that perfect alignment with the understanding that I am the divine, that I am God. That's all I'm ever trying to do in meditation. I do contemplative meditations, yes, maybe, but that, for me, then gets more into visioning. Because I do have a definition. I do, what's the word I'm looking for?
Distinguish.
I do distinguish between visualizing and thank you. Visualizing and visioning. But meditation is very important to me because it helps keep me centered in that place of understanding. Because if I really get that I am, everything in my life falls into place perfectly. So meditation is very important to me. Also, spiritual mind treatment, which is a fancy term for affirmative prayer. Now we call it treatment because we are treating to create change. The only thing we're ever trying to change is our mind. And in this philosophy, what we believe is, as you change your thinking, as you change your belief, your experience changes, but you're never trying to change the experience. I go through this every week too. Never trying to change the experience, you're always trying to change your mind. You're trying to change the cause to your experience. And when you successfully do that, then we say your treatment has demonstrated. See, there's the jargon again. Now the difference between visualizing and visioning, visioning is getting in touch with the intuitive nature of God through you. Visualizing is using your imagination to imagine different circumstances. That's how I distinguish between the two of those. So then I ask the question, with all of this, with our dogma, with our jargon, with our spiritual practice, what is the difference between science of mind and any other religion? What is the difference? So again, I ask you, why are you here? Why are you here? I mean, I can tell you why I'm here in the science of mind. I had a basic understanding, not having been brought up in a religion, I had a basic understanding of what I believed about the facts of the universe. The facts of the universe. Facts are not always the truth. They're simply the facts. But I had an idea about what I believed about the facts of the universe. And one day I happened to stumble into a Science of Mind center and listen to somebody give a talk that totally struck me and said, oh my gosh, I'm home. So that's why I'm here. And it wasn't long after that, it was within 6 months after that I thought, wow, I understand my path now. My path is ministry. It was very profound and very fast. And my throat is very dry. I will tell you, part of the reason that I stick to telling you every single week, you are God, is because it took me a very long time to get over my own hang-ups about hearing, I am God. It took me a very long time. And mostly it was because it was based in fear. Well, I can't be all of that. I can't, God is something greater and bigger, and oh, why would I say that I'm that, right? Well, that's putting the power outside of yourself and saying that I could be victimized to something outside of myself. So I had to get through that fear and learn that. And it shows up. Whatever you fear, whatever you're resisting shows up in your life. Because I started studying this philosophy, and I had a friend show up at a service in NoHo that I had known in college and had not seen for many, many years. And he heard, you are God. Oh, and that sent him into a tailspin. So of course he comes to me because I'm the one person he knows, and I'm new to this philosophy, right? Now all of a sudden he's saying, well, can you explain to me what it means when you say, you are God? You're always faced with your fears. You're always faced with your fears. Because I had to really get very clear in that moment. Do I believe it? Do I not believe it? If I do believe it, why do I believe it? And if I don't believe it, why do I keep coming here and saying it? And I had to explain to him before I had the tools, right? Because it was very early in class. And ultimately, unfortunately, I mean not unfortunately, actually I shouldn't say unfortunately, because that's a judgment. It didn't work for him. So I honor that. And he left. He came to a few services and said, you know what, this is not for me, and he left. So I trust and know that he has gone on to find something where he does feel he belongs, and that does speak to his soul, and that his path, that he understands his path, is the path to a deeper understanding of the divinity within him, whatever that is. So why am I bringing all of this up? So today is our annual general membership meeting, right? Where we have members. There are people who have gone and signed a piece of paper that says, I belong to this center. I belong to this center. And these are the things that I have aligned myself to. I have aligned myself to a deeper understanding of my divinity. I have aligned myself to a deeper understanding of my personal responsibility. I have aligned myself with a deeper understanding of fill in the blank. Anything we teach here. If you have signed up to be a member, that means you have bought into these principles, these ideals. But most importantly, what I say you've bought into is a deeper understanding of yourself. That you have chosen at this time to be on a specific spiritual journey for yourself, not for me, not for me, not for anybody else in this room, for yourself. By upholding these principles in your life at this time, you are saying to yourself, my life can be a life that is more compassionate. My life can be a life that is more uplifting. I can be the change which I wish to see in the world. And then I ask the question, why do we shun the word church? You know, for a very long time, our organization, Religious Science International, we were known as Religious Science Churches. The Church of Religious Science. And we went through this whole marketing study, because we were going to brand the organization. And ultimately what they came to is, you got to get rid of the word church. People don't want to hear the word church. And so they've adopted that, and we've adopted that as our thing too, right? So certainly, yes, there's a broader appeal to people who have a button around the word church by saying we are a center for spiritual living. There's a broader appeal to people who are religious phobic. Then again, I ask you, or I say to you, we come here on a Sunday and we talk about the nature of God. How much more churchy does it get than that?
Testify.
Don't get me started. I mean, isn't that what churches do? Well, I'll tell you one of my churches. You're going to probably think I'm crazy. So the internet is one of my churches. Because I will tell you, you can find out a lot about the nature of God on the internet, and specifically Facebook, which I really enjoy. I love reading what my many friends on Facebook all have to say. Right? Because I'll tell you, if I had to maintain friendships with, I think I'm near 1,200 people, like really maintain friendships with that many people, I would go crazy. But I love to see what people are putting through, what people are believing in and what they are buying into and what they say they belong to. Because every time you post something on Facebook, you are saying, I belong to this idea, and this idea belongs to me. Well, somebody posted a great thing last night, and so I ended up watching the video this morning as I was sitting at Starbucks preparing for this talk. And it was one of the talks on TED. And now for the life of me, I can't think of the guy's name. He wrote the book, it's available now, Religion for Atheists, which now I'm desperate to read because it sounds so fascinating, right? One of the things that he talked about, though, is what's the difference between a sermon and a lecture? He's saying that we could all get along, we could all do well with buying into some of the ideas that religions bring into this world, that we have tried to shun out because it's religious ideology, right? So, he said the difference between a sermon and a lecture is a sermon is here to change your life. That's what the purpose of a sermon is, to change your life. A lecture is to simply give you a bit of information. So I love lectures, right? When I'm not bored out of my board with the person who's speaking, which is not often, but it's happened. Certainly in college a lot. Well, this man posits that we should engage more in sermons than in lectures in life. We should actively be engaging in changing this world. We should actively engage in things that are there to change our lives if we're not happy with our lives and the way that they're playing out. Sermons, he says, are more effective because people take action. Lectures are less effective because people just listen. So he says we should engage in more sermons. Which is funny because I'm still not to the point where I can get up here and say that what I'm doing right now is sermonizing or giving a sermon. So this is, it's Sunday. This is a thing in my own mind, right?
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, I wrote, if the sermon is good, not that I want you judging my sermons.
We can't do a mic or thumbs up or thumbs down. YouTube.
But if the sermon is good, you will be inspired to change your life. And that's all I'm ever up here saying. You want change in your life? You do it. And there are tools for you to do it. The tool is your mind. That's all I'm ever up here saying. And I trust that I can say it in an inspirational, new, fascinating way every week. But if you listen, I'm always saying the same thing. So then I ask the question, why are you here? If I'm saying the same thing every single week, why are you here? Well, I can tell you why I think you're here. Because the week goes along and we forget. We get out of these doors, we go out into the world, and we see the car collisions, and we see what's happening in the government, and we see what's happening in Darfur. We see what's happening with this whole hoodie thing that just makes me crazy. Makes me feel guilty wearing a hoodie. We see these things and we forget who we are. We forget the I am that I am. And so for me, I would answer the question, why are you here, by simply saying, you're here to be reminded. You're here to be reminded. That's all. That's all. So all I will ever try to do is inspire you to change your life for the better. I will always, always attempt to help you think more deeply about your life. And I will always, always work to inspire you to take action in your life which upholds good. So today is a lot of questions, right? So one of the questions is, where do you look for morality? Where do you look in your life for morality? Are you looking at Facebook to determine what is morally objectionable or acceptable in your life? Are you looking at the news to determine this? Are you looking at the circumstances in your life to determine this? Just a question. Where do you look for guidance in your life? Are you looking at Facebook? The news? Are you looking here for guidance? Just a question. And then one of the big questions, how do you feel about others? The concept of the other. Because here's what happens when we say we belong to something, we have now established ourselves as being separate. In a philosophy that teaches there is no separation, we are all one. We have set ourselves apart from the rest of the world, and I've heard this at many conferences when they come out and they say, we have the greatest teaching in the world, and this is, everybody needs to believe this. And I say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have a teaching that works for us. I have a teaching which works for me. So what happens when you see others who don't share your point of view? Or belong to a party that you don't agree with? What do? Are you looking within? Are you looking within yourself to come to a deeper understanding that there is no separation between you and that other person who seemingly is an other? When you look within and truly, truly come into alignment with that which is within you, I believe that you will find what I'm saying every week is true. I believe in a world that works for everyone. That was part of the vision statement for the United Centers for Spiritual Living, creating a world that works for everyone. I believe in a world that works for everyone, and I mean all philosophies. I mean Catholicism, Buddhism, Judaism, Taoism, Islam. I believe in a world that works for everyone, provided that we all approach each other with the understanding that we are one and we are engaging in things that are constructive and not harmful. Which then made me think about, I love the West Wing, right? I think I mentioned that in here before. And there was an episode of the West Wing that is not part of the canon of the show because it was done in response to 9/11. Basically, 9/11 happened, and within 3 weeks there was a new episode of the West Wing that had been written, shot, and produced, edited, everything within like 3 weeks of 9/11, called Isaac and Ishmael. And in this show, there is a potential threat. They don't really talk about what the threat is, but the whole discussion of Islam comes up within the context of this show. One of the smartest things, and I was so grateful for this, because it seems that in many ways, 10.5 years later, we have forgotten this. And many people are approaching the concept of terrorism with a misunderstanding. Because first of all, what happens? They're linking terrorism to Islam, which is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. In the show, Josh Lyman, one of my favorite characters on television ever, makes this analogy. He says, Islamic extremism is to Islam what the KKK is to Christianity. I was so appreciative of this because we continue to vilify the other. We're not looking for what makes us the same. We're looking at what makes us different. So in the US media, right, since I'm from the United States, we're bombarded all the time with the concept of the terrorist, which is simply a new term for the other because it used to be communist. We're constantly looking for ways to create other, to create separation. And so I say today, the universe has enough room for all people. The universe has enough room for all philosophies. The universe is infinite, so how can it not contain all that there is? So today, I claim to belong to only one thing. I belong to only one thing. I belong to the universe. And with that understanding, I approach life with grace. I approach life with compassion. And I approach life with understanding. So I ask, how about you? And I'm going to end today's sermon with a question. Where do you belong? Namaste.